Greetings, true believers. All right, it's taken us a while, but we're going to start the Andor deep dives. And if you'll forgive us, we're going to do 6 episodes at a time. So we'll start with the first 6 episodes.
Well, it's more like we're just doing 2 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, there's doing a weekly deep dive would be nonsense because it's such a slow burn.
Yeah.
I think there's some episodes where maybe 10 words are said, right?
It feels like that sometimes, yeah.
It's honestly, it's my favorite Star Wars right now. You know, and
Well,
I'm
it's
talking
probably
in
Star Wars
all
right
of.
now.
Yeah, I'm talking in all of Star Wars though.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
And I just got to say, I'm surprised that Tony likes it.
I am too. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I was not a fan of Rogue One.
Dude, I have a Rogue One hat. I love
I have a
that
Green Lantern
movie
hat.
so much.
I don't have any hats.
I don't.
I
either,
like
but-
a lot of things.
I'll tell you what though. I am going to go back and watch Rogue One again. This has made this. I like this so much that I'm going to give Rogue One another chance.
So the first episode is called Casa, and it takes place 5 years. They give you the timeline. 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. So we have 5 years building up to, the first movie, New Hope. And Cassian is on this industrial planet looking for his sister, and he goes searching for her in a brothel to start with. Now, while he's there, they're called Pre-More Authority security officers. Again, in the Star Wars, in
But
the
also
Star Wars
the-
universe, I'm not sure what they are, but
But what I got from it is they are pre-Empire,
These are
professional, mercenaries. In a
or
way.
hired by the Empire.
yeah. This is basically like contractors. Everyone in the first 2 episodes of this show that you see working on stuff for the Empire, except for the military meetings, they're all contractors. So it'd be like your Northrop and Grumman for
Blackstone.
the Air Force,
There you
Blackstone for the military.
So it's like Clerks, right? All those contractors died on the Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
So while they're there's going to be trouble with these cops because they're assholes. Well, and he accidentally kills one of them and executes the other. So he's killed 2 cops, which means immediately. Yeah. Well, the first one was accidental.
First
and
one
he
was
has-
accidental, yeah.
Yeah. Then he has to kill the other one.
I'd say the other cop accidentally fell on his blaster. At least that's what I tell people who came and asked what was going on.
So he then he then flees to the planet Ferrex, where his mother is
His air
adopted
quote.
mother.
Adopted mother, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where we meet a character. This is my one quibble with the show.
You don't like the droid?
So minor.
How dare you?
I love the droid.
The droid
Okay.
is really cool.
B2 emo.
Yeah.
I hate his name.
B2 emo.
Yeah, B2 emo. Come on,
Oh, is that your quibble with the show?
that is my only quibble.
Oh, wow. That's even
But it doesn't
less-
take me out of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I just think
You
it's
know?
fascinating that he has a full, human vocabulary, but the R2 units don't.
Exactly. That's
That
my
was-
first thought. I was like,
There's-
why is
there's a-
this R2 like unit able to
There's a
talk?
canon. There's a canon reason for that.
Oh, cool. And I just think
What is it, Lee?
R2s are sassy little bastards, and if you got them talking, they'd never shut up.
Oh, like Chopper.
Yeah.
He'd just be throwing the F-bomb all the
He
time.
would.
Okay.
So he goes there, convinces adopted mother Marva and his friend Brasso to all cover for him, and he then asks his friend Bix to connect him with a black market buyer because he has acquired a Starpath unit, which is, I guess, valuable Imperial tech, navigation tech.
It's like the way I was thinking about it would be like if you were a street racer and you came across a Maserati engine, because it's like, you're racing jalopies and old beat up cars that you've cobbled together, and then you come across this premium piece of tech that you should never have had access to in the first place.
So Bix agrees, contacts the buyer, but apparently her and Cassian have a history, and that makes her boyfriend Tim kind of suspicious. Kind of
Freaking
keeping an
Tim.
eye on it.
Him.
Can't blame him though. Having
I
history
love
with
like
Cassian
everybody's got
Andor.
everybody's got like Star Wars names, and there's Tim.
Well, this
Two
is what I
M's.
tweeted about a couple of months ago. I want a Star Wars character who's just got like a normal first and last name, so he stands out for that.
Like
So-
Bob Anderson.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Well, Bob Anderson.
So back on the brothel murder planet, the chief inspector of security, for some reason, decides to cover up the murders, and I think it's to improve his the way
numbers.
he looks and his
Yeah,
numbers to
it's
the
also-
imperial authorities.
And that's what this whole show's all about when it comes to that side, right?
It's
But-
about bureaucracy covering up for itself because they know, especially an old guy like that who's 2 weeks from retirement, doesn't have time for this crap. You don't
also-
want to open up an investigation because
And also, this is also such great parable for the times we live in
Yeah.
right now.
Well, and the old guy specifically says he's like, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just sweep this under the rug. I don't want to hear about it again.
But this is where we meet his deputy, Cyril Karn.
This
And
guy,
a guy that lifts up the rug and sweeps things out.
Yeah, so
this
he's
fucking guy.
he is so craven. The actor who plays him is just so perfect in
He's
this role.
good. Yeah.
reminds
he's
me
just-
a bit of like Crispin Glover in Wild at Heart when he stuck the cockroach in his butt.
He also reminds me of the in the second Alien movie. He strikes me as the guy who is sort of in charge of the Marines, not
Paul
the Marine
Reiser.
commander. No, not Paul Reiser, but the guy who goes down with the Marines and is representing the
corporation.
corporation.
Yeah.
It's not Paul Reiser, but he reminds me of because he's so craven, just perfect.
Yeah.
So Karn identifies Cassian's ship, traces it to Ferrex, learns from an eyewitness at the brothel that he was there, and that he's from Canary. So then we get a flashback of Canary and young Cassian, known as Cassa, and his tribe. They investigating a crashed ship. It's all a series of flashback, and Cassa rebuffs he says to his younger sister, "No, you can't join us," and leaves behind her to guard the encampment.
There didn't appear to be many, if any, adults in the encampment. It was mostly like a Lord of the Flies thing, and then it was they passed what looked to be an Imperial strip mining operation. So it's like
Yes.
they're of no consequence. They're basically like the Amazonian natives when all the mining activity started picking up in the 60s and 70s. They're just like, oh, well, it doesn't matter that you're here and this is your land. We're taking it. 'cause we
And
want
they're
it."
just laying waste to it.
Right.
Is the other thing. That's what. Again, just the Empire. They do not give a shit.
And we're living in the Empire. But that's
Yeah.
fine.
Then we get to episode 2. That would be Me is the name of it. And Tim is still, real suspicious. Spending an awful lot of time with Bix. I don't like that, Cassian, but he doesn't say anything. But he then turns Cassian over to the Primor security. Shitty move, buddy.
Yeah, come on, jerk.
Real dick move, bud.
Such an Owen Lars thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's cold. I like that. Then Karn partners with Mosk, who is another one of these gung-ho Primor officers to arrest Cassian. But B2 Emo, the hero, the true hero of the show, informs Cassian and
What
and
the
Marva
worst name?
of the warrant. So Cassian decides he better get off the planet. Bix's buyer then travels to Ferrex to obtain this stolen Imperial tech. And then we get another flashback of him as a kid and his cohorts locating and investigating this crashed ship, which we're pretty sure is Imperial. But they're not all of the crew is dead. There are some that are still alive, and
They all look like they've got bad radiation poisoning or
Yeah.
something.
Well, I
Yeah.
wonder what killed him. They never said.
doesn't say. One of their own is killed by one of the crew members of the down ship, and the tribe just swarms the guy. And
Murders
kill
the
him.
hell out of him.
yeah,
beat
they
him,
did
Beat him to sticks like teens with E ET.
exactly. And so then they leave the crash site, but Cassa sticks around to, young Cassian, sticks around to explore the ship, which heads us to Reckoning, where we meet Luthen Rael, Bix's buyer, who arrives on Ferrex. And what a great performance out of this actor. He's
Well, and
Skarsgård.
but just great performances out of everybody in the show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is this Skarsgård related to like the younger Skarsgårds?
Is he an uncle or he's not their dad? Is he?
I don't know, but he was the guy he was naked in Thor.
Yeah, he's from Thor, so he's in all the Disney properties, and just doing a great job. So then Cyril and Mosk arrive with a dozen security officers. They confront Marva. She's one of these old hippies from the '60s. She's not, she's not talking to the cops. She's not helping anybody. But then Cyril intercepts a transmission from Cassian to the true hero of the story, B2 Emo. And he's able to pinpoint.
And even though I hate his name, I identify with him so much because he's always like half broken. And he doesn't. And he doesn't.
Can't hold a charge.
He can't hold a charge. I'm just like, I get you. I get you. I just hate your name.
So he's able to find out where Cassian is, and they start going after him. So Cassian wants to sell the unit, leave Ferrix, but then Luthen tries to persuade him. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than this. It's not just about you selling stolen shit. There's a bigger thing here. He doesn't use the word Rebel Alliance, but this is what he's kind of hinting at.
That Skarsgård is the dad of all the Skarsgårds we know.
He created all the Skarsgårds.
He created the Skarsgårds.
Including Gustav Skarsgård, the bald one.
And I loved that part of this story where he's just like, come in.
Yeah. Wouldn't you
You
like
could
to
do this?
You could do something
Let's
for
do
real.
something bigger. Let's do something
know.
for real. Yeah.
And that's where Cassian gives this wonderful reply to him. He says, "How were you able to get this stuff?" And he says, "Well, when you look like me, the Empire doesn't pay attention to you."
Mm-hmm.
You know. And it gets back to this whole my take on this show, which is very, very much anti-cop, very much anti-authority, and it's clear in this series, and it'll become more clear as you watch the show. The Empire are Nazis, all right? Star Wars has kind of toyed with this, in the movies and stuff. They've just toyed with it. They're supposed to be the Nazis, they keep telling us. Well, this show makes it pretty clear that they are the Nazis.
At the very least, fascists.
Yeah, at the very least.
Yeah.
So then Karn's officers raid the factory. There's this great shootout. They escape the speeder hangar. And then Bix learns that Tim ratted out Cassian. She rushes to help him, and then only to be stopped by all the officers because they're shutting down the city to catch these guys. And they kill Tim when he attempts to intervene.
Who killed Tim?
Yes. So the officer who fired the shot is sent back to the pod, which the security officers arrive, but the pod is destroyed after takeoff due to sabotage by Brasso, Cassian's friend. Luthen and Cassian escape the planet, and Cyril and Mosk request evac. Then we get another flashback. We learn about Marva and her husband, Clem. They scavenged the crashed ship on Canary and find young Cassian, and Marva decides to take him with him because
I found it. I'm keeping it.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. It's like, you're coming with me now.
Well, I think she's convinced that he was going to be discovered there.
Yeah.
Or that whatever's going on the planet was going to lead to everybody there dying. Because they do talk about that multiple times, that there was an accident there and that there were no survivors. So
Yeah. But that sets up where, the missing sister whole thing. That's where they were separated when they were young. So we get the answer to that. Then we get to episode 4, Aldhani. So Luthen takes Cassian to Aldhani and says, hey, tell you what, think about the rebellion, but I got a job for you here. I'm going to give you a lot of money. It's a sabotage mission. And he says, okay, I'll do it. You'll get a lot of money. Don't worry, I'll pay you. He
gives him
kind Kyber crystal.
A kyber crystal as kind of a insurance that he's going to hold up his end of the deal. Which I saw that and I was like, "What the heck is this old guy doing with a kyber crystal?" And we still don't know about that.
He's still a kind of a mystery. We still don't know everything about him yet. But that's when Cassian decides that his new name is Clem for this mission. He doesn't.
Fandango.
And that's where
I can hear you, Clem Fandango.
And that's where he meets the rebel group's leader, Vel, who introduces him to the rest of the group. But and they don't talk about Luthen's involvement in this whole thing. They explain to Clem that they plan on stealing the payroll of an Imperial sector from a key Imperial supply hub. And they're going to take advantage of this rare phenomenon in Aldhani's sky to escape. It'll be a distraction since their getaway vehicle is not as fast as the Imperial ships.
Right. And then and you also meet that one guy where you go, he's trouble.
Yeah, he always plays an asshole every time.
Yeah.
He does. I thought maybe this was when he's not going to play. But no, he did.
Then we go to Coruscant. The seat of the Empire, and Luthen is. We find out that his
flamboyant alter ego.
He does his hair differently, and he dresses differently, and he's
himself.
And he's like an antique dealer.
Yeah, he's an antiques dealer.
You think about this, and it is absolutely perfect for the stuff that he does to try and promote the rebellion, because as an antique dealer and dealer in ancient goods, he can go anywhere in the galaxy under the guise of, I'm looking at some old stuff for my store.
And also, who's going to give two shits about him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who cares about
And
that old
who's gonna
weird
care
antique
if
dealer?
some member of the Senate stops by to look for a present for her husband?
Well,
Exactly.
and this is where we meet Senator Mon Mothma.
And so she blew me away in Rogue One because she looks like the original.
The
Mon
original
Mothma.
actress, yeah.
And she was born in 1977. This lady, I looked. She's an Irish actress, but she looks just like her, sounds just like her,
It's perfect
moves
casting.
just like her. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
So this is we're getting also Mon Mothma's backstory, which is another great thing about this whole show.
She's got a shitty kid.
She's got a lousy kid, a lousy husband. Yeah.
Her husband sucks.
Yeah.
He is a turd.
Yeah.
But those two, they talk, and it becomes pretty clear that they oppose the Empire, but they're keeping it quiet. Karn goes to live with his Cyril goes to live with his mother because they pretty much said, "I told you I'm going on vacation, and but you went and did all this other shit and got all these guys killed."
He gets fired.
So he gets fired.
Cyril's mom
Oh, man.
is one of the most miserable
Yes.
characters of all time. I hate her
And you-
so much.
You see exactly why Cyril is the way he is, because this is the woman
Yeah.
that raised him,
And
We've
you
got-
also
we've got-
notice. Go ahead.
No, we're gonna call it a favor from Uncle Ding Dong or whatever his name is, and you're gonna be very happy about it. He's just like, I would, if I had a blaster, I'd kill everybody in this room.
Well, I want you to notice that Cyril always eats cereal. All right.
Yes. With blue milk.
With blue milk.
Cyril.
Yeah. So the ISB, that's the Imperial Security Bureau. This is where we meet Lieutenant Deidre Miro, who when she starts
rules.
on this show, she just seems like just another Imperial officer. But we
Yeah.
get to know her a little bit later in the coming episodes.
She's got
And,
ambitions.
And
Yes.
I hate that I love her.
She's such a we'll get to those episodes coming up. She's got such a great, frightening speech coming up. Let's see. Anyway, so Deidre Miro, she decides that she's going to look into the Ferrix incident and what happened.
Because she was
But-
investigating the missing star jump.
Yeah.
Star drive.
Right.
But once again, all of the people in the bureaucracy are like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. It's not a big
It's just a piece of junk.
deal. Yeah.
We got 100 of them in the storage. Who cares?
So then we get, and Episode 5, The Axe Forgets is the name of it. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. That's the whole quote. Oh, it's very good. So they're back on Aldani, and Cassian, Clem, keeping his past quiet from all the other people involved in this rebel job. Although he's not been told it's the rebellion. Really, it's just this job. But he starts
Seems like just a heist.
Yeah, he starts to pick the shit up.
And it's a heist, and he's like, "This is some money," and
But now he's starting to figure out why they're doing the heist, not just for the money.
So Skeen is the guy who you're thinking of. That's the name of the character, Skeen, and he is an asshole.
Should be called Skis.
He's a piece of shit, is what he is.
So they start to train Cassian and the other rebels for this heist, and so now we've gone from this political thriller to a heist movie. Which is another great thing about this show is that it does what it wants. So
it shifts and. Anyway, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So while they're traveling, they have to walk because TIE fighters are on patrol all the time, so they have to
they're
walk.
disguised as shepherds.
Yeah. That's where Cassian reveals that he's a mercenary, and that's why I'm here. Vel decides to continue with the mission, hold off on dealing with his past until they've, completed the mission. Meanwhile, the Imperial officer and rebel double agent who, thank you, Star Trek fans, Lieutenant Gorn.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Gorn, they've got a spy in there. He's in the Empire, but he sees that they're doing some shitty stuff. So we get the backstory on him, and we find out why he covertly aids the rebels.
Well, he's upset because the native population that worships the stellar phenomenon that's going to be used as a disguise, they're being exploited, their natural resources are being destroyed, and his former love interest was one of them, and they didn't do right by them. So
yeah.
Well,
so
they're
he's
doing a straight up allegory or analogy of what colonizers did with the Native Americans.
Exactly.
He trades them like 2 goat skins to use all of their land, basically.
Right. Yeah.
It's some glass beads for Manhattan is what it is, basically.
So then we jump back to Coruscant, and the character that you hate so much is Edie Karn, by the way. Just emasculates poor Cyril. Well, I shouldn't say poor Cyril. He's a rat. As he starts looking into new career prospects because he's out of a job. Mon Mothma then establishes a charitable foundation, to hide the money,
Right.
And is managing, her troubled family, her husband and daughter, and all of that. And this is the complaint that a lot of Star Wars fans are giving us: there's too much of that stuff. And I'm like, don't you want to care about these people? Don't you want to know about these people?
Have you noticed that her husband dresses like a really rich Jedi?
Yes. Yes, I noticed that too.
That's Coruscanti fashion.
Ah, okay.
But I that's what I love about this show, and what I loved about Rogue One is I want to know the history of this universe that I love so much.
I wish I was as interested in our real history as I am in fake histories.
I'm also very interested in like real history.
Yeah.
But when you learn real history, you'll see allegories in this fake history all the time.
For sure.
And then back on Ferrix, the new ISB headquarters, they just take over a hotel. I mean, it's just so cavalier. Again, that's very fascist, very Nazi. Then Miro and her assistant Hirt reach the conclusion that the rebels are, in fact, conducting a series of coordinated heists of Imperial weapons and technology. So they're starting to slowly figure out that these aren't just random small acts like all these other guys in the Empire are saying. This is leading up to something. So there are some smart people in there. Then Luthen just sits and waits for transmissions from Cassian's team, to find out what's going on. So then we get to the Eye, and this is where, with the help of Star Trek fan Gorn, the group infiltrates the garrison, posing as an escort squad. They steal some Imperial uniforms and they walk right in.
And I
help
love
of
the whole,
Gore.
the whole
Yeah,
marching training.
you
Yeah.
have to train
And
them
it's
how
like,
to walk
yeah,
like a
and
an
we don't
Imperial
care.
soldier.
We don't care about them. We don't care about these people.
Yep,
Yeah.
don't even pretend they don't even exist.
And you have to do it this way because this is Imperial standard, and so
Yep.
And also, they
Just
reveal that one of the dudes was a stormtrooper.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
in the past, in his past.
So they then take this guy inside his family as hostage and force him to give them access to the payroll vault.
This shitty kid.
He's a shitty kid.
Oh, that kid.
Hey, I hate your Empire, Dad. I just want to play video games.
I don't want to wear pants or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Stupid space
So-
pants.
So they're loading, and this is where we get an action film. This is the conclusion of the heist
Yeah.
film,
Oh, it's so good.
and it's such a
It's
great sequence.
so good.
They're caught by the Imperial forces as they're loading the money onto an Imperial fighter, and we lose Star Trek Van Gorn and we lose Tamara, and they're killed. Then Cinta's unable to make it onto the ship. He's that one kid who really had faith in Cassian.
He's their Karl Marx.
Yeah.
He's literally writing a manifesto.
The Rebellion Manifesto, I
Yeah,
think, is
exactly.
what we'll see. But that will be seen down the road, I think. So then so you get Cassian, Skeen, Vel, and Nemec are the four of all the groups that are managed to escape. Nemec suffers a spinal injury. He's then crushed by an unsecured load of
That was
this money.
brutal.
That was
That
yeah.
was brutal.
Just got squished. They land on another planet to treat his injuries, which he succumbs to.
Yep.
Vel, looking after Nemec, Skeen proposes to while Vel's in looking after Nemec, this asshole Skeen says to Cassian, "Hey, you and me, we could split this. We could just take him.
And I was just like, I knew it.
40 million apiece.
Yeah, we could do this. We could just take this." And Cassian just kills him.
Yeah,
Just-
which
which
I
was
didn't see coming.
badass.
It was super badass.
It was
I
badass.
didn't see it
And
coming.
I was like, so happy when it happened.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
very Cassian.
Yes. And so he then is, pissed off at Skeen because he thinks maybe, this whole group is a bunch of assholes, and he's afraid for his life, of course. So he goes in and he tells Vel what happened. He said that this guy was going to do that.
And she,
and
and,
then-
and she kind of thinks he's lying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
'cause
not
she
sure at
trusted him.
first. And he says, "I'm just going to take my portion, the amount that Luthen had promised me as payment, and it's all in your hands. This is your deal now." And and that's when Vel gives Cassian Nemec's manifesto, because he said, give this to, well, not Cassian, give it to
Clem!
give it to
Get
Clem.
it, Clem.
This to Clem.
And that, I think, we're going to see is the perhaps Rebellion Manifesto or something like that.
I think you're
but,
right.
But then we flash back to Coruscant, and the ISB agents are gathered to formulate reprisals for the heist, because they're like, this was a big job. This wasn't one of these small things leading up to. This is something big. And then, Luthen hears news of the theft and has a nice little quiet celebration. But it's just become such a good show. And that's just the first 6 episodes. You're learning so much.
I love that at one point, when they're talking about the heist, they say, this wasn't a robbery, this was an announcement.
This was an announcement. What a great line. Yeah.
And just love the show. Just, oh my God. And how people, it's like, yes, I understand. There's the Force and all the cool stuff in Star Wars. But my God, the world building we are getting and always have wanted to see
Yeah.
is happening.
I mean,
You know?
this sort of stuff is, covered in the novels and all of that, but, I'm sure. But, for those of us who aren't readers,
I can't read.
Books.
we need this.
Sherman!
I love this kind of stuff. I mean,
No.
all of this, learning about the Empire's attitudes towards, and how they make their decisions,
and just like the office politics.
the office politics is there.
One of my favorite memes of all time is my favorite part of Star Wars is when Darth Vader loses his shit in a staff meeting
Yeah.
and chokes the shit out of a guy. You know?
So maybe teach me. I come to the fount of Star Wars
Well,
from Leigh and you fellas.
He's right there.
Why is Star Wars money so unwieldy? Like
They don't have PayPal. Is that what
they
you're saying?
don't have. They don't. It's none of it's digital. None of it's paper. It's all like heavy metals.
Well, because for one,
Well, it makes more sense after what I've dealt with this last 2 weeks.
yeah, I mean the whole Star Wars universe was created during a period of time when none of that existed, and
Yeah.
we had just as a nation barely gotten away from the gold standard. I think Nixon did that in '73. So 77,
okay.
you're 4 years out from the gold standard, and really, like, for one, money is artificial. It's a construct where we say my time is worth this many apples, and so here's a note that represents my time for that many apples. But yeah, it's unwieldy because I don't think, for one, if they were all of a sudden to say I'm going to transfer the credits to you, and this takes place before episode 4. It just wouldn't fit. The alarms would go off. I bet you there are transfers of currency, but they still have everything's still based off of a gold standard, right? So that heavy metal currency that they had, all those ingots that they stole
little
in
ingots.
in that Ronto, that's probably whatever unobtainium they used to pay their people and base that payoff of. So they may get a direct deposit.
It was
every
like
payday.
It was like breaking into Fort Knox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Tony, there was seriously a period of time, and there are three of us that remember this, where direct deposit didn't exist.
Oh, the dark ages.
Yeah, or
gotta
if you're like me, the company was in such financial trouble when the checks arrived. It was a race to the bank.
Exactly. Exactly.
Been there.
No, you got
What
a
do
paper.
they use for? What do they use for change though? Because we've only ever seen the little ingots. Do they have
There's-
coins?
You
as
know what,
well,
Tony?
or-
You need to stop.
I just
Go
I'm
back.
Right now.
You need to go back to a little movie called Phantom Menace, where all your questions will be answered.
No, they talk about Republican credits there.
Yeah, they have credits, and this is just what you saw, were the ingots that the credits are based off of. That's
Yeah.
the currency that they were using, basically the collateral that they're going to base all the currency off of.
Okay,
But see,
that
that's-
makes more sense that it's the collateral.
But see, that's
Okay.
what makes the Star Wars universe so unique, is that it's a combination of futuristic technology and,
Yes, and the Wild
ancient stuff.
Yes,
You know,
I love that
So-
they're still keeping everything analog on the control boards
Right.
and stuff. Even though we're filming in 2022, you
that's-
still have big buttons and switches.
that's also-
Well,
That's
it's a
also why-
long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
But I also think that's why cryptocurrency is such a radical game changer and so threatening to the institutions that are already operating things, because it's not based off of anything. You're not basing it off of gold. Gold, we can all say, hey, guy in China, hey, guy in Egypt, hey, guy in Brazil. We all agree, right, that gold is worth this much. And if everybody
Right.
agrees, then we can base our economy off of that. But then you take crypto where you're like, I left my processor on all night and I got 1/10 of a bit.
I wish, but
Yeah.
well, I mean, modern day economies aren't based off anything backable anymore.
Right.
Either as well, it's based
Which
on
is-
what we decide companies are
Yeah,
worth.
it's all
and
nonsense.
It's all
Which is-
garbage.
well, that's why I prefer Star Trek, because they don't use money.
Don't need it.
We
Don't
don't
need
get
it.
rid of money.
Well,
just I want to use gold pressed
remember-
platinum bars. That's
Just
what I want to
remember,
use.
Star Trek was never political, and Gene Roddenberry was not a socialist.
Here you go.
That's why I always tell people I'm bi. I enjoy both
Enjoy
parts
both.
of
I
Star
enjoy
Trek
both.
and the Star Wars.
Yeah,
I just
them
like
both.
star stuff.
Put a star in front of it, and I'm there.
I'm there.
All right. Well, that was the first 6 episodes of Andor, the best Star Wars show, and we'll do another deep dive on them coming up, because the best episodes are yet to come.
Oh man, the last couple.
God.
Have been so good.
Those were good, but boy, the best ones are on their way.
Can't wait to watch them.
Gotta watch them, Leigh.
Gotta watch them.
Fighting.